Alright, we're back, of course, talking FF7. We're here with, it's not like a news video, it's just kind of like an interesting topic. We had a stream from almost exactly 3 months ago with John Bentley and Zack Fair. It's technically not wrong, but John Bentley, the voice of Barret, and Caleb Pierce, the voice of Zack Fair when it comes to the Remake project. They did a stream on Streamily where I guess like you like sign shit live or whatever. And they kind of went on just a little tangent about a Zack and Barret game. Purely hypothetical, of course. They're not like confirming some sort of like weird spin-off game or some shit, but it's just kind of an interesting topic, and there seems to be like at least a decent amount of people that are interested in that. First of all, though, this does come to us from Shinra Arch on Twitter. They tweeted this out like yesterday, and the tweet got a lot of traction, which is why I think that there's like a decent amount of interest in this. Also wonder with stuff like this how people come across it, just because like again this is like 3 months old, but also it's not got that many views. It's only got like 900 views. Like how is this surfacing now? So I'll play the clip and then we'll talk about it.
I feel like we should just have a Zack and Barret game.
We should.
Yeah.
We should.
Can we talk to Square about that?
I'll talk to Square about it because you might get in trouble. They'll be like, come on, man, you got Crisis Core.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, we'll
No,
talk.
I'm teasing.
We'll talk to them.
Square.
We'll talk today.
We'll plead. I
Yeah.
didn't say all that. You're making promises that I can't make. We're going to talk to them.
We'll talk to them.
Hey, they might be watching. You about to get me in trouble.
You guys keep me young. You keep me young.
Look, someone's like, yes, please do
Yes,
that.
right? I feel like it would be great.
Dude.
So again, obviously purely a hypothetical situation here, and if we want to take it like serious for a second, like it can't really happen from a lore perspective, other than like in the remake continuity, Zack being alive or Barret has to die, right? Because one of them is not like the other. And obviously Zack died prior to the events of FF7, so like if that's still the same, and it probably is when it comes to the remake continuity, like they just can't really have a game together. Unless you wanted to do some sort of like weird spin-off game that's technically not canon, that maybe takes place in one of those worlds that are like inside the planet in Rebirth or whatever, where it's like, okay, it's not, you can do it, but it's not really canon. This isn't something that actually happened in the story of FF7, right? It's just this other world where things are different. But it's kind of funny that John jokes about how like they'd get mad at Caleb because like Zack already has his own game with Crisis Core and shit, right? And it's kind of funny just because like I did see people in the replies of Shinra Arch's tweet talking about like Barret should have been in Crisis Core. And that's a good point when I got to thinking about it, just because like you get most of the party from FF7 main party in Crisis Core, but you don't get Barret, right? Because you obviously get Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. You get Yuffie. You also get a little tease of Vincent, like the Shinra Manor. There's a few you don't get, obviously. You don't get like Sid and Kate Sith and shit, but still, like the majority of the main party's there. And Barret's like the OG. He's the first actual party member you get besides obviously Cloud that you're controlling in FF7. I'm not 100% how you'd incorporate Barret into Crisis Core, but it doesn't have to be like a major role. It could be like Yuffie, how Yuffie's a part of like the side missions. It could have just been like a side mission thing where, you know, Zack goes to Krill. Maybe it's in the past, obviously. You could just have like a mission where Zack just goes to Krill for any fucking reason. It could be to help set up the reactor when they're like planning that shit and talking to the town of Krill, or just in general. He just goes on some weird side mission, goes to Krill, and he just meets Barret like one time. That's it. I think it makes perfect sense too, given for one that he works for Shinra. He does missions all over the world. That's the big part of Crisis Core, is doing those, all 300 goddamn missions. But also that, you know, Shinra directly worked with the town of Krill, right, because of the reactor and stuff. So I think it makes some sort of sense that Zack maybe would have went to Krill at least once at some point in his damn job. And honestly, I think it would have been really cool if they went the route of Zack having some sort of interaction with all of the main party, because they pretty much do that anyway with Crisis Core. You're just missing a few characters, right? And like it'd be cool that everybody like knew Zack prior to the events of FF7, and then obviously Zack and Cloud cross paths, and that, you know, launches the entire FF7 story. But anyways, putting that stuff aside, like conceptually, this idea, a Zack and Barret game, would obviously be fun. It doesn't make a lot of sense if we're trying to put lore stuff aside. It'd be cool, just because they're like my favorite characters probably from, especially like the remake continuity. Zack's always been my favorite character for the longest time now because of Crisis Core. But with the remake continuity, Barret's probably my favorite like main party character, just because like the tragedy of his story and like John's delivery of his lines and shit. So as I said plenty of times on the channel, like I love to control Barret in the fights. It's something fun about it. I'm just sitting back and shooting people with guns. Obviously, I'd be down for some sort of like Barret Zack game. Like that'd obviously be awesome. It doesn't make any fucking sense, but I don't care. Also, I thought this discussion was kind of cool just because I've been saying on the channel for literally years now that what I wanted from the remake project was like, you know, characters getting to interact that I've never got to like interact before, been on screen together and shit. Specifically Zack interacting with like, you know, the main party members from the OG FF7. And then we have this from a few months ago where like the voice actors for Barret and Zack are suggesting a game for their characters together. And I've actually used that example before too when talking about that. I want to see like Barret and Zack talk, like those like personalities clashing. And that can still happen with the third game, because we're obviously going to get more of Zack in the third game in some capacity. It could be a similar situation to like the ending of Rebirth, where we have like Zack like hopping into like fights and helping the party, if that's a thing, right? Maybe he helps us fight Saber Sephiroth at the end or some shit, and maybe he joins up with like the main party at some point and like helps us, like, you know, we could, whoever's in your main party fight along Zack, and maybe there'll be like a cutscene afterward before he disappears, and you could have like Zack and Barret talk a little bit there or something like that, and him talking with the main party, whatever. He doesn't have to be alive for it to happen. It could be alive. I'm not, you know, writing that off entirely, because they are very like ambiguous with like the ending where Zack wakes up in the church and they're like, what world is he in? We don't see, you know, a stamp mascot or whatever. So who knows? You know, maybe he's in the Beagle world. We'll see. But the idea of like a full game of just Barret and Zack working together, doing missions together, fighting, questing, traveling the world, sign me up. It'd be kind of cool too. I just thought of this since we're talking about this like theoretical scenario of like Zack and Barret having a game together. Is like, what if like Square Enix did like a what if thing, kind of like what Marvel does, of just like hypothetical scenarios where things are different, right? What if, you know, Zack never died at the, you know, cliff outside Midgard? What if Aerith never died? What if Zack and Barret met like earlier in life and became friends and shit? Like, how would that change the FF7 story? And it could almost be like canon to a certain degree because of like the worlds inside of the world that we learned about in Rebirth, right? Like, depending on how many there are, if there's an infinite number of worlds in there, obviously a lot of them, most of them are doomed to be destroyed. But because of the infinite possibilities, like there could be a world out there where these different things happened. And it wouldn't be like breaking the original FF7's lore, because they're happening in other worlds, right? I think it'd be kind of cool. It could be like little short stories, and then to be like big ass novels that Nojima writes or whatever, right? Just like little concepts. Just like, what would happen if these things happened differently? Anyways, that's pretty much the video. We are obviously went on a little bit of tangents here. This concept as a fun idea probably never happened because it doesn't really make any sense. There will probably be other games eventually for FF7, right? After the remake project, they might, you know, remake Dirge, something like that. But also, like, FF7's not just going to go away. There'll be something else eventually, whether that's another prequel thing, another sequel thing, whether that's a movie or a game, whatever. Something will happen eventually for FF7, so I'm always interested in that shit. But to pass off to you guys, too, of course. What are some of your what-if scenarios, though, that you'd like to see, you know, little stories written by Nojima? What if Sephiroth never turned evil and destroyed Nibelheim? What if he, you know, eventually went against, you know, Shinra, became the actual hero that he already was, just kind of lived on happily ever after? What if Genova didn't crash land on the planet? How would the fucking world in FF7 in general be different, right? What if Hojo uses crazy-ass knowledge for good? What if, you know, Shinra wasn't like this shady company that they are? What if they were actually in it for the people, you know, to better the world and the planet and shit like that? Another kind of interesting what if Sephiroth succeeded in his plans, like, what the fuck does he do afterwards, right? He wants to, like, you know, absorb all the life stream and sell off into the cosmos and whatever, but, like, what do you do from there? What's your plan, my guy? Let me see it. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, so in the description below. Follow me to -YT. That's it.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain or leave it like Cobain.